Wave your hand, wave your hand, wave your hand from the Caribbean. Wave your hand, wave your hand, wave your hand from your one number one. From me ready for the competition. You know take intimidation.
Mr. Pete Russell, CEO of the Caribbean Premier League. Mr. Nigel Batiste, Group President and Chief Executive Officer at Republic Group. Executive members of both CPL and Republic Bank. Mr. Nigel Camacho, President of the Queen's Park Cricket Club. Mr. Ravi Rampal, Mr. Jaden Seals, CPL cricketers. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. Welcome to the beautiful city of Port of Spain, to the historic venue of the Queen's Park Oval, and to what is sure to be a momentous CPL RBL press conference. I'm Alex Jordan. It's my pleasure to take you through this morning. It may be afternoon or evening, wherever you are watching or tuning in the world. It is great to see so many members of the media out this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, both virtually, of course, and in person, across the region and world. Before we begin, I just have a few house announcements. There is a regional cricket game taking place at the Oval this morning right now. So should there be an emergency, please listen closely for any instructions and follow them. Okay, thank you. The staff at the Oval will be able to guide you to safety in the event of any emergency. And for our virtual attendees, I'm going to ask you to leave your cameras off, if you will, so that we can not compromise the bandwidth. I can hear a collective sigh of relief from all of you. You can stay in your pajamas at home where you are. I'm also going to ask you, of course, when it comes your time to the virtual media, to use the raise the hand emoji to get yourself in the queue to ask questions. All right, well, we're ready to roll here this morning, and I would like to welcome our first gentleman to the stage to give the opening address, and he will no doubt unveil the reason why we're all gathered here this morning as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of the Caribbean Premier League, Mr. Pete Russell.
Many thanks, Alex, and with all the protocols observed, I just want to make one thank you to Jamie Stewart, who is here somewhere, who has created and developed this relationship over the last 8 years, so a big thank you to you. And also thank you, obviously, to everyone here for coming and for everyone online for logging in today. I think it is very fitting that we're back here at the Oval, the scene of so many memorable nights that these two fine gentlemen have been part of for CPL over the last few years. And for me, today is both memorable and historic. And it's with great pleasure and great excitement and anticipation that I am able to announce today that Republic Bank will become CPL's new title sponsor for the next 3 years. As many of you will know, Republic Bank have been a part of the CPL family since 2015, and they've helped us to grow from the very early years to become the second most watched T20 league in the world. And of course, we both share many of the same goals. We both help develop local talent who go on to compete and perform on the global stage. We both bring economic value to the region with investments in the markets where we operate. And of course, we both help facilitate the joy and excitement for the many cricket fans and followers across the Caribbean by investing in the sport that we all love. The CPL has always prided itself on being a Caribbean business with a global outlook. And the same, of course, is true of Republic Bank, who are vital in making sure the region are able to do business with the wider world. So for our new title sponsor to play such an important role in the Caribbean economy is both very humbling and very exciting for us all at CPL. Nigel, I know both our teams will do great things together as we keep building the passion and excitement around CPL for years to come. Another area that we both take great pride in is in the development of players. It has always been a key mandate for CPL as we look to become the finishing school for the best players around the region. Many players who become noticed in CPL have used the tournament as a platform to show their skills not only to domestic selectors, but also to franchises around the globe. Republic Bank are also investing in development, and their Five for Fun programme is allowing so many children to get access to the sport for the very first time. We hope that this partnership will see one of those kids come through the Five for Fun programme and hopefully one day play out there at the Oval in a CPL game. For the fans, there is also so much to look forward to. Since Republic Bank has been involved with CPL, they've made the fans central to everything they do, both in and around the tournament. And we know that this strategy will continue in their new role as title sponsor. They have some very exciting plans to bring to our wonderful fans and make them part of the action and ensure that this tournament grows at a faster rate than it's ever done before. The fans are why we do this. They are the ones that create the vibe. They are the ones that create the passion. They are the ones that make CPL what it is today. So Nigel, it goes without saying that we are hugely excited by this partnership, and we cannot wait for the first Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League to get underway from the 16th of August to the 24th of September. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pete. I'm so excited I dropped my pen. Fantastic, exciting news, amazing and exciting times for this game that we love. And no better time than to invite on stage now the Group President and Chief Executive Officer at Republic Bank to deliver some remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nigel Batiste.
Thank you, Alex, for that introduction. And as Pete indicated, all protocols have been observed. But I do want to acknowledge the presence of two of the three group vice presidents who joined me this morning, Karen Yipchuk and Richard Sammy, who, besides being group vice presidents, are also much closer to the sport of cricket than I am. Right? Pete, Jamie, thank you very much for the partnership. Good morning to everyone, whether in person here or online throughout the Caribbean and world over. Republic Bank Limited is thrilled to be expanding our partnership with the Caribbean Premier League by becoming the title sponsor. Pete, I think you would agree with me that there's no better place to make this announcement than really here at the Queen's Park Oval this morning. For over a century, history has been made here at the Queen's Park Oval. And I think we have another history-making event at the Oval this morning, with Republic Bank becoming the first Caribbean-based organization to become the title sponsor of a Premier League such as this one. And I think we do deserve to give not Republic Bank, but the region a round of applause for that. The bank itself, which I hope most people would be aware of, we've been serving this region for over 185 years. And throughout that period of time, we've always looked for ways to make a difference to what happens in this region. And it was part of the reason that we initially became involved with the Caribbean Premier League, where we were the official banking sponsor. Sports and youth development are two of the core values in our organization. And so anything that enhances that, we are very keen on. When the opportunity presented itself for Republic Bank to take this partnership further, I think it is one that we all jumped at. You know, I could say certainly all of my group vice presidents, and there's a third group vice president, someone by the name of Vic Salikram, who unfortunately couldn't be with us this morning. But he's probably even closer to cricket than Richard and Karen, you know. And it was an opportunity that we felt that the group could not bypass. On every island in the Caribbean, you'll find children of all ages playing cricket anywhere that they could actually make a cricket field, with any piece of equipment that they could use, right, to play cricket. And it is that passion that Republic Bank and the Caribbean Premier League really supports. It is that passion that we're actually looking to fuel by our involvement in the sport. And I think, as Pete indicated, our involvement is not just limited to the title sponsorship. We have this Five for Fun, which is really meant to bring more and more youths into the sport. And if our involvement as the title sponsor in cricket can increase, if that was possible, increase the interest of the people in the Caribbean, increase the notice which is given to the sport in the Caribbean, right? Increase the involvement and maybe even the success of young Caribbean persons, I think our support would have definitely been worth it. We do not take the role that we are assuming this morning lightly. We see that as a tremendous responsibility for the Republic Bank Group, and this is in all of the countries in which we operate. And what was actually quite good for us is that almost all of the countries in which the CPL games are played are countries in which Republic Bank operates. And so I think when this announcement becomes well known throughout the Caribbean, right, we have many people in different islands, right, and in different countries, not to disrespect Guyana, right, who want to know, exactly how they could play an even greater role. So as far as we are concerned, the CPL is of us, and it is for us as a Caribbean people. And we therefore felt it was only right that it should be championed by an organization that is from us. And we think that is what Republic Bank is. So as we move forward, we are seeing this as a partnership, an investment in the future of the sport, an investment in the future of our youth, right? Something that all of us, as good citizens of the Caribbean, would have a vested interest in succeeding. And CPL is just one prong, right, of that strategy. We talked about the Five for Fun. There's also an online presence that we do, and which has the spectator at heart. I think there are plans to expand that even further. So I think everyone will see something different from Republic Bank as we carry this title sponsorship, we think, to even greater heights. Our love for the sport in the Caribbean has united us over the decades. And it is our intention to build on that unity and to ensure that cricket becomes a vehicle for the further unification of the Caribbean. We cherish this Caribbean spirit, and it is our intention to nurture it in everything that we do. So to Pete, Jamie, the entire CPL team, I want to thank you both and your support for giving us this opportunity to take, be a bit bigger. I think we'd be fooling ourselves here. We will take the sport to a new level. I mean, cricket is already at a significant, but to do what we can to build it even further in the Caribbean. I mean, we are very eager. We look forward to working with you. Our teams look forward to working with your teams. We think that the Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League could be an experience like no other. And our intention is that working together with you guys, right, that we will show the world who the Caribbean people really are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Batiste. Of us and for us. Well, special thanks to your group VPs who are the cricket fans, and no doubt we'll get you much closer to the game. Turns out the biggest party in sport is getting even bigger. Fantastic. All right, guys, before we open the floor to questions from the media, I'd like to ask both Mr. Russell and Mr. Baptiste, just to join us here for a photo op, because, you know, as the kids say, no photo didn't happen. So please just stand here side by side in front of our branding. Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is a historic moment, guys, in our sporting and social history here in the region. Really amazing. So now we open the floor to the media who are here in person. You can raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. Any questions in the room? We have one over here.
Now I'm from TV6, and I wanted to find out, seeing that they're saying that CPL is the second most watched T20 cricket in the world. Are there plans eventually to increase the number of teams as they have done with the IPL?
Okay, thank you. The question from TV6 is, Mr. Russell mentioned that the CPL is the second most watched T20 league in the world. Are there plans to increase the number of teams? Who's going to field that? Will we have you, Pete?
Thank you for the question. It's a question we ask ourselves every year. At the minute, we're comfortable with the 6, but the dynamics of the way T20 leagues are evolving, especially in America, I wouldn't bet against us having more teams in the next couple of years. But at the minute, we're very happy, obviously, with the 6 that we've got, but it's always an option to expand for sure.
Yeah, he'd like to follow up.
And what I also want to ask is, based on the question that I just asked, we recently saw the Women's Premier League where they had 5 teams and the top 3 would have a chance to go into the finals. Well, of course, the top going into the final and the other 2 going into a playoff. In the CPL, we have 6 teams, but 4 teams get that chance. So that is why I'm just wondering if there are going to be any modifications in time to come as well.
No, we think the format works very well. So I think also, 4 teams having a go. I mean, the way that it's structured at the minute, if you come 4th, you've got to play extra games, obviously, to get into the final. And you're incentivized, obviously, to finish top because you go straight to the final. So I would think the guys would agree that the workload in that last week, you want as little as possible. So I think it's pretty fair the way we've got it.
Thank you. We have a question over here.
Stefan Nicholas, Newsday. In the past, the CPL held games in Florida with the World T20 tournament to be held jointly with the West Indies and the US next year. Is the CPL still interested in penetrating that market?
I'll be up and down. Thank you for the question. No, I think we sort of had our experiment in America in 2016, which worked out okay. I think it was a good experience for us. But I think the point that we've made today is that we're very much a Caribbean brand, and that is what resonates around the world. Not wanting to take a swipe at some of the other leagues, but I don't think they have an identity in the way that we do. And the reason that CPL has such a strong identity is that we're very loyal to our beliefs that actually we are a Caribbean first product. And I think what the experience of going to America showed us was we didn't need to do that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good day. Ian Wason, Guardian Media Limited. There have been talk across the Caribbean by some, and even a former West Indies captain alluded to it, that there are a lot of local Caribbean cricketers are not benefiting from the CPL because we have a large influx of overseas players, non-Caribbean players coming and playing the CPL. How are we going to address this so that more Caribbean cricketers can benefit from playing in the CPL?
Okay, for the benefit of those virtually, the question is about international players and their involvement in the CPL versus locally based players.
And look, it's a very good question, and it's, as you say, Karen Pollard has been very vocal And I actually support it. I think there should be a local tournament. What you have to understand is we as CPL are obviously creating a very strong local brand for a global audience, and hence why we're able to deliver 740 million viewers, because people tune in around the world to see the superstars as much as the local players. But you're absolutely right, the next superstars have to be nurtured. So, it's conversations that we're having with Cricket West Indies as to where do you place that tournament, when is it played, and what's the criteria for it. But, that I think will happen. It sort of has to happen. And if you go back to what we tried to do a little bit with the 60 tournament, which was the shorter form, that was to try and get more local players involved. So we're very aware of that, and I think you'll see that certainly in the next couple of years something will happen in that regard. It's just an issue of when do you play it. But don't worry, it's on our radar.
Morning, Private Harry, AZP News. Just to follow up, what about the schools? Are you thinking of maybe going into the schools, having a tournament like that?
Again, a good question, and these are good questions because it's stuff that we're actually looking to do. So we're just in St Lucia started to sponsor an under-15 tournament there with a local franchise, and I think a lot of our development focus, again, because we've got Republic Bank now who are obviously leading the charge in terms of their development program, you'll see a lot more activity at that level. We've got the 10 a.m. games that we focused a lot on the kids, and I think you'll see a lot more activity around those games. But for CPL, again, we want to shift the emphasis. Yes, we've got the tournament, but we want to do more, obviously, all year round. So the domestic tournament, more activity with kids, and one of the age groups we're looking at is the under-13s, for instance, because we, again, collectively with Cricket West Indies, believe there is a gap there and a role that we can play in developing that space. So, yeah, plenty going on, and I think, again, with the partners like Republic Bank, it gives us the opportunity to do all of these things.
And can I ask, what will be the cost of the title sponsorship? What cost will it have?
It's like you never ask someone's age. It's like
I'm asking.
And my answer to everyone is no. I don't answer questions. Obviously, that's all very confidential. But thank you for asking.
If you have to ask, you can't afford it. Any other questions in the room, or should we go to virtual? Anyone else here? Okay, we've got one here again in the corner.
Are you heartened by the West Indies performance in South Africa, given that some of the CPL legends and West Indies legends are getting a bit long in the tooth?
Incredibly. If you look at that lineup that played yesterday, my belief, and that's what was so disappointing about Australia, was that, I seriously thought they went to Australia with a great chance of winning. And, that team, I think, is what we see. We see it down at CPL. We see those players day in, day out performing, great things. They've got exceptional skill. So, yeah, it's incredibly heartening. But I'm never surprised when the West Indies do what they do. And what was nice is, again, they played in a way which is, again, very Caribbean. It's what we would expect from them. They didn't shy away. Yes, they scored whatever it was, 250, and got beaten. But they went again and again. To score over 200 twice, back to back, is an exceptional feat. So, yeah, it's great. I mean, look, we always say it. We think cricket in the Caribbean is in a good place. Yes, okay, you've got those superstars at the top who are moving through, but there's plenty of talent coming.
Wanted to ask, seeing that everyone goes to the IPL, but when it comes to the CPL, the BCCI does not allow its players to play in any other league in the world. Are you ever peeved by that?
I'll just repeat the question for the benefit of our virtual online listeners. The question is whether or not Pete has an opinion about the lack of the ability for Indian players to play in the CPL.
Of course, but it's the same for every other league. Of course, you'd love to have Indian players here, but you can understand it. IPL obviously wants to protect its brand, and that's why they do it. But we're used to that. We don't worry about that. That's not on my radar. I don't worry whether I've got Indian players or not. Would I love the West Indies players only to play in the Caribbean? Yes, I would. It'd be great to. Unfortunately, we can't afford them. So, but the reality is that's every league has had to work with that. And all these people who say, oh, that will change one day. it will never change. You know, why would India give other leagues their players? It just wouldn't make sense. They have a commercial model that works incredibly well for them. So I can assure you that will never change.
Okay, does that wrap up our questions for the in-house media? Looks so. Anyone else? Great, I'll just grab the iPad now. We have a few questions from people online. So we first have Avinash Ramzan. Avinash Ramzan, would you like to ask your question? It looks like a muted mic on my screen. Avinash, are you muted? Okay, in the meanwhile, we can move on to Ben Cook. Ben, can you hear us? This is working well. No, Ben Cook is muted. Just going to wait on my technical team. Brandon Corlett. Oh. Can you unmute your mics now? You can leave your cameras off, but unmute your mics. We're ready to take questions from our virtual media in your own time. Just kidding. Brandon Corlett. Oh, everybody looks muted.
Hi, can you guys hear me? We finally have access to speak.
Yes. Who's this speaking?
Brandon Corlett speaking.
Yes, go ahead, Brandon.
Hi. So my question is about the fixtures. Should we have the women's playing in more than one countries this year?
A very good question, and yes. So the women will play in Barbados and Trinidad this year. So yes, we can officially announce that the finals of the women will be played in Trinidad.
Thank you for your question. Next. I see Avinash Ramzan's name at the top. But anybody who unmutes their mic can go ahead. That may be it for questions virtually. Oh no, here we are. Jermaine Abel. Are you there, Jermaine? No sign. Anybody else online who'd like to ask a question? I'll give you another 30 seconds before we move on. Brandon Corlett.
Hi there.
Hi, Brandon.
Hi
Go
there.
ahead.
Yes. Again, so I would like to know when should we expect the CPL draft, the official announcement of fixtures, those questions. Mr. Pete Russell, can you please clear the air?
So the draft will be on the 5th of June. That is the placeholder date for now. And then in terms of the schedules, we will probably announce within the next 10 days where all the games will be played. So everyone's got plenty of time, hopefully, to sort themselves out for a summer of cricket.
I see a familiar name here. Michael Hull. Are you there? Quickly muted. Any other questions from our online journalists? If not, we'll just wrap this bit up. Okay, well, we've come to the end of our question and answer. Oh, or is that my voice? Sounded like my voice on feedback. Yes, we've come to the end of our question and answer segment. Thank you very much. Members of media in the room, please note that we're going to have 2 spaces available for you should you want to do some individual interviews afterwards. So that will be available for you. We will also have a QR code on the screen in the room, and we'll take you to a Dropbox to our official press release and other material for your use. For those who are attending virtually, the CPL team will ensure that you also have access to that Dropbox link immediately after the press conference, okay? So now I'd like to take the opportunity at this point to thank you all for attending, both in person and virtually. I want to thank the hardworking teams of both the CPL and RBL for putting on this beautiful press conference this morning. And of course, congratulate, welcome, and thank simultaneously the new title sponsor and official bank of the CPL T20, Republic Bank, for all that is to come in this great game we all love. Thank you, and good morning.
Wave your hand, wave your hand, wave your hand from the Caribbean. Wave your hand, wave your hand, wave your hand from your one.